The rehabilitation and release of wild animals is one of the toughest things to accomplish. Stay tuned, because this week we've got a good news story.
She's traveling through the wild, she's searching for the truth. A true ninja's child, she's gonna find the proof. Picking up the trail, she's gonna find the answers. She's gonna tell the tale, she's gonna tell the tale. Keep it wild, keep it free. This could be our last chance to see.
We're all used to facing doom and gloom. But in today's Baboon times, Wild Limited is proud to present a positive story. Hi, I'm Michelle Garforth-Venter and welcome to the show. We're all aware of how fast our wild spaces are diminishing, and the animal kingdom is so hard-pressed to compensate for man's ways. That's the bad news. The good news is a private reserve in Pongola have said yes to accepting a newly formed troop of baboons. The permits are in place, and these guys don't know it yet, but soon they're going to be heading off to a new home. This is in fact the last day that they'll be looking at life from behind bars. Crow, an animal rehabilitation centre outside Durban, receives many baboons who've been orphaned or abused. It's taken 5 years to assemble this troop of previously traumatised individuals, and the hard work of releasing them has only just begun. The collective noun for baboons is a troop, although a congress of baboons is often referred to. They have a hierarchical society, so there's an alpha male, there's a dominant female, and the rest of the troop have to fall in underneath. This social structure determines their mating behaviours and also who's grooming or who's getting groomed. These Chakma baboons have been at Crow for nearly 5 years, and over that period of time there have been new additions which now total a troop of 11 baboons. But before they can be relocated back into the wild, a strong family group needs to be formed. And in order to make that happen, experience is required, as well as a deep understanding of the social structure of a baboon troop. And who better for the job than Helena Fitchett? Helena has worked at Crow for 10 years, and her passion and patience in caring for baboons is legendary. How do you go about selecting the core members of a troop?
Well, it is very difficult because we don't have the material we need to choose from. We get what we get, basically. So it's not an ideal situation.
And why is this specific group now ready to move?
They are all adults and sub-adults, and a caging of any type brings up the aggression. So the smaller the space, the higher the aggression. The longer captivity, the higher the aggression. There is a definite point where you need to release them. You can't really keep them, otherwise you would have to separate them.
The property that they're now going to, what made you feel secure and comfortable that this was the right place for them?
Firstly, it is a very good habitat, and that's very important for baboons. There is enough food, the area is large, and owners at Luthuli and management is very pro this project, and that's very important because you're dealing with releasing a very clever, very able primates. So you need a really sympathetic, understanding owners who are willing to walk this project through with you.
Helena found the right breed of owner in Guy Hamlin. The two previously joined forces in releasing a troop of baboons at Luthuli Private Reserve over a year ago, and it's this troop that is now going to be added to. There's an existing troop of baboons at Luthuli, and in fact the alpha male Bobby used to be resident here at Crow. Do you think that they will recognize each other?
There's in fact 3 animals here who know the troop which is already at Luthuli. And whether they're going to be friendly or not will remain to be seen, but they know each other.
Stay tuned to find out about lip-smacking communication.
She's searching for the truth.
Welcome back to Wild Limited. We're at Crow giving a voice to a completely misunderstood animal. Baboons lead an incredibly opportunistic lifestyle, which makes them able to fit into a wide variety of different ecological niches. Even places that other animals consider to be adverse, like areas taken over by human settlement. It's these behavioral adaptations that has made the baboon Africa's most successful primate. They're not listed as endangered and they're not listed as threatened. But what makes them so successful is also their downfall. Human beings view them as pests, and over the years, mass extermination projects have been organized.
Baboons are regarded as vermin, exploited by both the pet trade and animal experimentation. Baboons have suffered malicious acts of violence, as well as destruction of their habitat.
It's important to remember that it's their habitat loss that is the driving force behind baboons' migration into human settlement.
The caregivers at Crow are aware of how easy it is to mistreat a baboon. Just ask Josephine Tabu, who knows how trusting and susceptible to poisonings they are. There's infinite miscommunication between man and baboon. Even the troop, relocated to Lutuli over a year ago, have not managed to avoid human contact.
Bobby's been causing a couple of problems up at Lutuli. What's your feeling about that?
Look, there is definitely a problem. And this particular baboon came to us, he was already 3 years old. He was what I would call overhandled. But he has not been in trouble until there was a worse drought at Lutuli in like 35 years. So it was really tough on them. And he started gravitating to people because that's what he remembered. He has not been aggressive. He just tried to survive.
A major problem is that even simple baboon greetings are often misconstrued as aggressive.
One of the most obvious means of communicative display is that of presenting. The female will approach the male and she will show him her rear end, which means that she's receptive. And this sort of behavior will definitely lead to mating or sometimes just a very special relationship. The female will also do the same to infants. She'll display her rump, which shows that the infant can approach. And male on male will present as well. This is a greeting sign, but they don't raise their tails in the same way that the females do. Presenting can also be an invitation to grooming or simply to say, hey, I need some protection.
Baboon communication is made up of 3 distinct actions. Firstly, vocalizations like grunting, barking and clicking. Secondly, tactile actions like grooming and mounting. And finally, visual actions like yawns, staring, lip smacking and canine or penile displays.
This baboon is busy talking to me. He's lip smacking and he's raising his eyebrows slightly, which means he's saying good morning. It's really concerning that we always choose to focus on the negative and the aggressive aspects of a baboon when in fact there's so much more to them. They're loving, they're intelligent, they're kind, they're also very respectful. And if you choose to sit a while, you'd be very surprised at what you can learn about how they communicate, and if you're lucky, they'll communicate directly with you too. Baboons play such an important role in an ecosystem. They're prey for larger animals and also fantastic seed dispersers purely due to their very messy foraging habits. They're also efficient predators for the smaller animals, birds, insects, rodents, small mammals, keeping those species' population numbers in check. Carly, you've been taking care of Buddy since he was a tiny baby.
Yes. He's been here since the 11th of February 2007. He's been one of the best baboons I've ever raised. You know, he just loves people and he loves to clown around. So, yeah, it's going to be sad to see him go.
This troop has been formed from all kinds of different individuals that have come from all kinds of different backgrounds. They've been orphaned. What else?
Yeah, moms have been killed in traps. We've had some baboons that have been confiscated on the side of the road, taken away from their mom, dangling from their legs, you know. And they've all gone through a lot of trauma and a lot of things in their early stages of life. For me, I feel they've all done pretty well. They're not showing any signs of stress, and they haven't had people showing them what to do. So I'm pretty confident that they will be okay there. We will be monitoring them, watching what they're eating, and just observing their every move in the wild. So yeah, it's quite a big thing for me, especially. I've spent a lot of time into these baboons, and it feels like it's my family that's going, and mixed feelings about that. That's the part in rehab where you have to remember why you're doing it, is to release them back into the wild, and they're not pets.
The business and the bureaucracy of the admin process is now concluded, and the permit is signed and delivered. Alphys Ngubesi from KZN Wildlife is the man who delivered the good news. Alphys, what is the criteria that you're looking for? Obviously, there must be good food source. What else?
We're also looking for the suitable area, and we're looking for the place, whether your neighbor consent, because that is most important, because some of the community, they are not happy for you to come and just introduce the baboon in the area. So we need the neighbor consent, whether they agree with you or not.
Is it a very rare occurrence for there to be a baboon relocation, or is this something that happens often?
No, it's very rare, Michelle. To be honest, it's very rare. It's not happening now and again. It's very rare. So that's why we're appreciating Crow about the wonderful job they are doing. They're just rehabbing the animals and release it back where it belongs.
Don't go away. The business of relocating baboons is up next.
She's searching for the truth.
You're watching Wild Limited.
Trust Murphy, on the day of relocation, it's raining. There's a light drizzle, but at least the temperature's nice and cool. The only negative is that it means it's going to be really slippery for the people having to herd these baboons into a particular zone in their enclosure. The smaller caged-off area off of the enclosure is where it's all going to be happening. Some fruits and nuts have been placed inside, and each animal is going to be enticed inside one at a time. A shot of ketamine is going to be given, and then they're going to be moved off to the table to be shaved, which is a means of identifying each individual so that once they're out there in the bush, we know who's who.
The relocation team wastes no time in getting the ball rolling.
There's an incredible amount of vocalizing going on, and this is a perfect opportunity for us to get to know baboon language a little bit more.
Jenna, our apex female, is carefully carried up to the preparation table, where she's measured, weighed, given vitamins and antibiotics, a dewormer. Her physical condition is checked, and she is finally boxed and ready for relocation.
Baboon number 1 done. Let's move along.
This is a quick procedure to ensure the care and safety of all 11 baboons.
Here's the dominant male. Very pleasant when he's asleep.
And while more than half the troop have been sedated, the younger members are up to no good.
The rain is really coming down now, but that's not affecting the operation. Things are carrying on as per normal. What's really interesting is that all the dominant male, the dominant female have been removed, so the parents are out the house, and the remaining baboons are just really doing their own thing. They're making up their own rules, they're banging, they're running around. It's mayhem in there.
Each individual is shaved at a different point on his body for identification. Justin, for example, is shaved on his left rump.
Well, Justin is the last animal, and with that, there's an empty cage. But the team here at Crow, they always say, an empty cage is the best cage.
This is why we do this, I have to keep in mind that when we do this, I raise them to be released, and I'm gonna cry when we get there.
The family are nice and quiet. They haven't yet woken from their sedation. And happy they are. Jenna, Lucy, Chappie, Justin, Teddy Bear, Cheeky, JJ, Boone, Zorro, JR and Buddy are loaded and ready for relocation. But not far behind them is all of this delicious fruit and vegetables for their supplement feed.
And finally, the troop are on their way.
We've been traveling for 4 hours and the scenery has changed dramatically. We're surrounded by magnificent fever trees. We're nearly there and I'm sure those baboons can't wait to get out of those cages. Ah, Lutuli, 22,000 hectares of pristine Zulu land. And this land is also a part of the Black Rhino Range expansion project. So Chappie's troop is going to be sharing some pretty good company. Isn't this just wonderful? It's the perfect picnic spot. Well, that's what it looks like to the layperson's eye. Fruits, bananas, and here come the cages right now, ready for the release.
These baboons are a little more than anxious to get out of their cages. Finally, the doors are opened and the primates take their first steps towards a life free of caging. Some walk while others run, but you can see each and every baboon reveling in the joy of an open space.
You've got to understand how special this is. This is the very first time that any of these baboons have been in the wild.
Young Cheeky has even jumped headfirst into the dam.
This must be one of the most magical experiences that one could ever have. Remember that these baboons have never been in the wild. They have never seen life without a cage around them. JJ, a subadult male, was the bravest of them. He was the first to set out on a patrol, and then the dominant female, Jenna, set out behind him pretty quickly. And then the best moment of all was to watch Cheeky diving in the water and swimming around, literally swimming for joy, feeling the water all over his body. It was just very special indeed.
I think I always find myself very touched, and I always find this an emotional moment. In all the releases I have done, I have never grown tired of seeing animals go free. It is my complete and emphatic belief that wildlife does not belong in cages.
Now, Crow's involvement doesn't end here. Just because the troop are out of their hands doesn't